Womp womp. Hello, my rainbow joys. It's Delia, aka Trans Doc in Training. Welcome back. It's been a while, and today's video I think will explain why I've been gone for so long. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. I am just gonna put it out there. I failed a class for the first time ever. I don't think it's something that people talk about enough in med school, but it does happen. The last block of our M1 year was neuro. I went into it trying to be as optimistic as I could, but I had heard from other students that it was not easy. It was going to be a lot of work. So I kind of knew what to expect going in. I did not expect what ended up happening. I am one of those people who gets the big picture pretty well. It's more like filling in the small details that I have a hard time with. And for this particular neuro class, we had to know a lot of the small details. Like if you knew the big picture, great, but you needed to go like 10 levels deeper than that. And that was something that I really struggled with. It took me the length of almost the entire course, which was 12 weeks, to actually figure out how to study in a way that worked for me. Because I will be honest, like you kind of have to study differently for every block in medical school because every block is so different and the material for every block is so different. So it's a matter of finding a way of studying that works for you for each individual block, because the same study method may not work across all of the blocks that you take. I ended up failing the class by less than 3 points. So I was really close to passing, just not quite there. So I had to do what's called remediation. And remediation it's basically like summer school, except you're not actually taking classes. So you have to redo the testing portion for whatever class you fail, but you're not like going to class and learning any new material or reviewing anything in a classroom setting. It's like you're reviewing everything yourself and then taking exams based on it. Remediation looks different for each class, and for the neuro remediation at my school, we had to take 5 exams and then a final. During the actual neuro block, we also had anatomy practicals, which thankfully we did not have for remediation because anatomy practicals are not my strength. Anatomy practicals are just not my strength. So I was very glad that we didn't have that, but I do know that there are some other classes where they did have to do the practical exams in addition to the regular exams for remediation. So I really wanted to talk a little bit about what this process was like from like a psychological and emotional perspective. It was a lot harder emotionally than it was like mentally or academically to get through remediation. For people at a lot of medical schools, including mine, the summer between M1 and M2 is your last summer ever. Like it is your last summer vacation. I kind of knew towards the end of my original neuro block that there was a good chance I was going to fail and I would have to remediate, but it was definitely hard finding out that I would have to remediate, and then instead of 9 or 10 weeks, my summer would be 3 weeks. Because I am exhausted from the school year. Like I am still so tired. And I knew that I was going to be when remediation ended. I had a really hard time separating my performance in neuro from my sense of worth. So what do I mean by that? I really started to feel like because I had failed neuro, I was a failure. Like, that was genuinely how I felt. It was hard watching all of my friends go off and enjoy their summer, and every night and every weekend I was studying the same stuff that I had just taken. I was so used to being told growing up and now in medical school that failure is just not acceptable. Like, you just don't fail. Like, that's the expectation. So when I did fail, I felt like I was a failure. It didn't just feel like, I had stumbled and needed a little bit more help. It felt like I did something egregiously wrong. So when I didn't pass neuro, I just kind of thought about everything that I had done leading up to now and everything that I had gone through. And I was like, if I could make it through all that, why couldn't I make it through this one class? But I think what I've learned over the last 6 weeks is that failing doesn't make us failures. It doesn't mean that we lack the ability to succeed. It doesn't mean that we lack the intelligence. It doesn't mean that we lack the strength. It means that either the system that we're in failed us or we stumbled. But it doesn't mean that we are inherently failures. I'm tired of people tying worth to success. Because every person's life and every person's way of life and every person's presence in this world matters. And making mistakes, failing, stumbling, falling, it's part of being human. What I really want to leave you all with is, if you fail an exam or fail a class or don't get into an activity that you wanted to do or don't get a research opportunity you wanted, it's gonna be okay. Even if things don't work out to plan, it's okay. You will find a way to make it work, even if it's not what your original path looked like. And it doesn't make you a less worthy person. You are not a failure if you fail. None of us are. Now, I'm not saying go out and fail all of your classes and you'll be just fine. To a certain extent, you just have to try and do what you can to succeed. But what I'm saying is that if you are putting in your best effort and something isn't working, it doesn't mean that you are less of a person, and it doesn't mean that you are failing as a person. It just means like you may need to change your strategy for how you're studying or how you're doing something. You may need to try something different. If you are noticing that on the same path you're stumbling multiple times and failing at one thing after another, it still doesn't make you a failure. It just means maybe there's somewhere else that you can channel your strengths. I leave you with this. Try your best. use your strengths in a way that works for you, and know that if you stumble and fall, it's not a reflection of who you are. There's so much more that goes into it than that, but it has nothing to do with your value and your worth as a person. With that, thank you all for being here. I love and appreciate you, and I hope you know how valuable and how worthy you are. And always remember to keep it inclusive. Love y'all. Bye.